Kristi Kandel is known for real estate development, big vision, complex projects, capital stacks, and community partnership. But behind every development is a decision. Who are you building for? What does success cost? And when do you shift from operator to intentional creator? Right now, Kristi is building a sports, wellness, and entertainment destination built by the community for the community in Florida. This project started 20 years ago as a dream without the right people yet in her life. Now, building her community, building those connections, bringing this dream to a reality from her own network. And what really caught my attention wasn't just the project. It was the fact that she's building it publicly. She's sharing the process, the risk, the evolution. Last month, we talked about financial focus and legacy. This month, we're diving into well-being. And I believe focused well-being isn't about spa days. It's about alignment. It's about building a life and a business you actually want to live inside. So today, we're unpacking how she transitioned from I can do everything to I will focus, how real estate becomes a vehicle for legacy, why she chose community over ego, and what we need to understand about leverage, control, and clarity. Let's go. All right, for y'all listening, I just recorded our intro, but did not hit record. So what you're hearing is us picking up right now because that's real and raw. And one of the things talking with Kristi is you ever know when there's people we were talking about this before I thought I hit record. And I said, it's when people in my community and my circle say like, Katie, you need to meet. And when that name comes over and over again, I hunt. And I'm like, okay, if my circle says I need to meet these people, I'm going to go meet them. And Kristi was one that kept coming up. Everybody kept saying, you got to meet Kristi. You got to meet Kristi. You guys are like in the area, same soul. And it was something where we had like tried to connect so many times. And then literally in like the back room of one of the sessions at InvestorCon, she comes up to me. She's like, are you Katie Kim? I'm like, yeah. Like it's all like Catholic guilt sets in. I'm like, oh shit. Like, what did I do? Right. And she's like, I'm Kristi. I'm like, oh my God. And of course it's like mid presentation, right? Like, and so origin story of how we met and then started following you. Big fan of what you do and where you come from and how you've been really rigid about getting focused, not only to build your own financial freedom and also location freedom, but also like what you want to do. And I love your story. So I would really want to dig into like, let's talk about your origin story. Like who were you even before you got into real estate development and kick us off. And I'm checking again. I actually have hit record. So we're ready to go. So let's go.
Perfect. There we go. Yeah, no, I actually grew up in Ohio, a very small town of 2,500 people, and owning our own house, let alone getting into development, never even was an option for people like us growing up, or so I thought. And all I knew is that I wanted to do something that just didn't have to stress about making ends meet. So I actually went to college and had to try to be a computer programmer. And then I quickly realized that I'm like, I like people way too much to sit in front of a computer all day. So I switched to sales and marketing and really just did that to get that piece of paper they told you needed. And as soon as I got my bachelor's, I decided to pick where I wanted to live first. And then I knew I'd figure it out. So I said, I'm moving to Florida. So I moved down to St. Pete, ended up getting a job just before at a sign company. And that's pretty much where my world changed because that sign company was putting up the exterior signs for CVS Pharmacy. Mm-hmm. And I realized, I'm working with these developers who are building for CVS, but also building the shopping centers around it and also building the housing and the industrial parks. I'm like, wait, is this how our communities are formed? Like, this is really cool. And as a sign vendor, I'm the low person on the totem pole and developers are top of the food chain. So I built a relationship, busted my butt and worked crazy hours to make it happen. And one day I just looked up at one of the developers who I knew was the preferred for CVS. They were killing it. And I was like, hey, Eric, what's it take to be a developer? And I thought he'd tell me to go back to school or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you know what, Kristi, actually, for us, we're a smaller company. They had 20 to 30 people. They said, if you're the right person, we'll teach you the business. So I looked at him and I smiled. I'm like, cool. When do I start? And thankfully, because I had kind of been interviewing for the past year and proving my worth, 3 weeks later, I started with them. That was in August of 2009, 8. Oh man, my years are messed up. Somewhere in there. And then
Yeah.
basically it was 4 months after that, we got the opportunity to work with Family Dollar and open locations in California. And it was the first time like they weren't in the California market yet, inline or freestanding. And I said, hey guys, I'm the only one without a spouse and multiple kids. I'll go open the office. I'm the lowest risk. And if it works, y'all come out. That's great. Somehow that worked. And
Way to
6 months after
campaign.
that, I was like, I knew California was the land of opportunity that I'm like, I know how much Florida blew my mind from small town Ohio. And I just knew if I could get to California, that would open so many other doors and opportunities. So ended up moving out for the next 4 years. I built 30 Family Dollars a year. So from the time our real estate guys got the dirt under contract, I was going in, doing the due diligence, finding the architects, engineers, full design team, doing entitlements, permitting, dry utilities, construction management. So I'm in my early 20s on job sites telling people what to do after, working through entitlements and permitting. And it was a whirlwind. Found a handful of really awesome mentors along the way, and they truly are why I survived and made it through. And so that was awesome. And then I realized after that, I was like, ooh, I should start my own company. I'm like, no, not yet. So I worked with a developer in Newport Beach who did shopping centers, who did multifamily, who did industrial. And I'm like, oh, even the bigger projects, it's the same process. If you know the right questions to ask, you can define the process. And then from there, you literally just get more time and more money. So did that for a while. And then I said, 2015, I started my own company. And I'm like, you know what? It's time to make my dreams come true. So took the leap, started my company, did a decade of hydrogen work and commercial work, and then lots of plot twists later. And I ended up back in Florida.
That's awesome. I didn't realize because I I relaunched my company, stepped away from my family company in 2015 too. So I didn't realize almost the same time frame. I was like, whoa. So when you were looking at the other one, the other developer in Newport, had left then the company that brought you out, or were you still part?
I hadn't. I was still with them, but I can only do the same thing so many times. And building 30 Family Dollars a year or CVS, they're cookie cutter. There's not a whole lot. Yeah, just working with hundreds of jurisdictions and utility providers, but it's all kind of the same. So I was ready for the next challenge, either to become a real estate manager and work on the front end of deals, or do different types of projects. So the opportunity came up to do different types of projects. And we always have imposter syndrome. Anytime you do something new, you have it. So I was like, well, I'm going to go figure it out so I can know this. And then really just making it to where I could personally have no more excuses before I pulled the trigger and I did it myself.
I love that. You're like, I'm going to make sure I dissect and discover and all that. Yeah. And people often ask me how can you coach this and that? I'm like, well, one, when you grow up in a family construction company and you're doing all these different things, because we did industrial, multifamily, nursing homes, hotel, office and multi, everything that, except for jails. We renovated one. We did not build a jail. That's the one thing I'm like, everything else, RV park, you name it. But it's the same thing I realized. It's getting to know the people and having them know you, so that when you come there and you have that process, it's like, let's go faster. Right. And so that's one thing I quickly realized is that give me whatever product, you're still going on land, you still use utilities, what all the details are. So same boat there. Love it. Did you develop anything personally out in California for your portfolio?
I ended up getting in and co-developing. Hydrogen was we co-developed those to where we became their entire development arm. So and that was random too. It was beach volleyball that brought this together, because one of my friends said, hey, you've got to meet Shane. He's the founder of this hydrogen company. He was asking me and telling me he struggled with permits. And she's like, I don't know about permits, but I hear you say something about permits. So maybe you two should talk. So we ended up meeting with them, and at the time, they were in their first round. They had gotten 19 stations approved by the state of California. They were getting grants. They were hiring this global civil engineering architecture company because that was for their investors. That's who, out of foreign investors were saying, hey, well, you've got to use a big company. Turns out big companies don't know local development. So they were stumbling and falling all over. So we ended up coming in, and the last 4 projects that they couldn't figure out how to get permitted throughout California, we came in and finished those. And then they're like, wait, that worked. So then their next round, they got another tranche of stations, and they're like, well, let's give you this. And we came in and killed it. And then by their last tranche or their next tranche, they're like, can you just take over all of development and we'll secure the grants, we'll do the operations, but you do that and build the team and everything. So it ended up being a really unexpected but really cool partnership that, I mean, anytime you're doing something new, I like to figure out how to do it. Like even something simple, when Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf put nitro in their stores, they had no idea all the components and complexity of it. And they're like, can't we just order the equipment and put it in? Well, the equipment doesn't actually exist in the US. You had to compile a bunch of different equipment, which means it wasn't NSF or UL approved, which means the health department couldn't approve it, which means it couldn't go in the store unless you did a whole lot of other things. Well, nobody knew what that whole lot of other things was. So figuring that out was part of what I did. And then we put in the plan to say, here's how we'll get it into all of these stores. So same thing with hydrogen. It's new. People aren't doing it in the US. So we built hydrogen fueling stations. I also connected with other hydrogen groups. So we were using, like with Bloom Energy, we put hydrogen fuel cells at Home Depots with solar to get them off the grid. And then now talking to different hydrogen storage companies, because that's probably closer to where hydrogen will actually work. But yeah, just doing, I like figuring out the puzzle of things that don't exist yet and creating the blueprint. And then once that happens, then I kind of get bored.
Yeah, you're like, now somebody else can replicate it. Okay.
Yeah. Boom, done. System process in place. Y'all run with that. I got to move on.
Such my spirit animal. So yeah, people were like, yes, I want to do this. So when you moved back to Florida, what was the catalyst that brought you back to Florida?
I started in 2019 with my dog, and she said she wanted to go snowboarding with me. And I said, cool, I'm going to get a truck and a truck camper. By the time the camper was ready, though, COVID had happened. And so I was like, well, wait, even our public hearings are on Zoom. So why don't we just travel the Mountain West and kind of go around the country? So did our first probably 8-month road trip through the Mountain West, all the way over across the country through the UP and Michigan, all the way down to Florida. And I almost bought in the Keys that year. And then it fell through. And I'm kind of glad it did, because I'm not old and retired and not in the Keys. That's too far away. So I came back to Tahoe. Yeah. So came back to Tahoe, was like, wow, that was a really cool, unexpected trip. And then the next year, 2021, we actually had a ton of wildfires out west, and it just made the Tahoe Basin. I'd walk my dog and you'd be coughing so bad from all the smoke. So I was like, well, shoot, we got the truck and the camper. Let's take off again. So we did another route. And by the time I landed in Ohio, my friends in Florida called me and they're like, you've got to check this whole Naples area out. Like, I know you lived in Tampa Bay the first time around, but this Naples area, it's the best boating you have in Florida. And it's this and it's that. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I fly down. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. So ended up finding a place in Fort Myers Beach and stayed on that side. I don't think I went back to Tahoe. I stayed on that side of the world for at least another year once I closed and moved in October, which the reason I went back to Tahoe a year later is because Hurricane Ian wiped out my entire community a year later. So that was, yeah. But that was what started local real estate developers and then eventually led to Elevate. So it's, well, I wouldn't wish a Cat 5 hurricane on my worst enemy. I would not take it away because I learned so much from that.
So talk about local developers. So
that
today. So like,
yeah. So when I say Hurricane Ian wiped us out, we were a barrier island off of Fort Myers, just south of Sanibel, and we hadn't been redeveloped. So we had a lot of old stick frame buildings. So when 12 to 18 feet of surge comes in, your buildings just wash away. Yeah. So then when it's done, you have outside developers swooping in who say, cool, I'm going to grab this 5 acres for 50 million and build these giant towers that don't exist, but that's what's going to happen. And just seeing the community go, oh, town is never going to be the same again. And then also knowing my development experience, like, wait, you can do this anywhere. People just don't have the blueprint. And I was like, you know what? I'm so tired of just doing projects to make money. I got to the point in my career where I'm like, I want to do stuff that has purpose. I don't want to build another shopping center to build it. I want to build something that the community can truly benefit from. So I was like, well, one way to do it at scale, because that's just how my brain goes, is why don't I just empower the locals to be the ones doing it? So if I teach them how to do development, then they can go do the project that changes their community, that creates a ripple effect. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So started local real estate developers. Originally thought it would be like, I'll do courses and this and that. And courses are so done at this point. And really to get people from I'm curious about development to actually doing it is such a huge gap that it's like, first you got to believe you can do it. So then found my co-host, and just under a year ago we started the local real estate developer podcast. And just because thinking through real estate, well, bigger pockets, people investing, why do we think that it's normal to invest in real estate? Because we heard so many stories of people flipping a house, flipping a duplex, flipping a quad, that just seems normal now.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's share the stories of local developers. So that seemed normal. So people get off the sidelines. So that's my passion project at this point, is just, and my favorite part of the week is interviewing people on the pod and just going, cool, that's a really awesome story. And then hopefully in the future, we can create that platform where if you're in development, you come together and it's like, cool, we've got this network of people across the country doing it that you can rely on and lean on, and just be your support team and share, the wins and the losses. So
Love it.
that's the fun one right now. And I have mentorship. If people are actually working on a project and want the help, then it's like, great, I will help you. It's just, I'm not going to be the person who pulls you off the sideline. Like, you got to be in the game.
I found that in because I had so many people say like, Katie, create a course, create the community, and I launched the academy and I went all in, right? I actually made what I wanted when I was speaking how to do it, but you put the missing piece right there, and you said it so great. It's like, I did not think that people would join or want to be part of it if they weren't like already off the sideline. Like if you're not already like, hey, I am going to do this, or I am going to. So I underestimated the cheerleader factor of like, okay, come on, let's go. And this, and I'm like, I am so self-motivated. So it like when people aren't self-motivated, I'm like, then it's not for you. Like if you're not to the wall, passionate about this, let's go, like it's not your thing. And, I found I was more convincing people not to go into development than to go in, because I'm like, this is not for the faint of heart, right? And and even moving from Illinois, where I had to learn everything, and I had to learn how to stack these incentives. I had to learn about the incentives because that was the only way we could do deals because of the way the economy was. Well, it come down to Austin, and everybody like specializes. So the point is like, I only do like the land entitlements. I'm like, and they're like, that's it. I'm like, oh, okay. And I realized like I was able to get so much done faster because I knew the whole process. And I'm drawing my floor plans and giving them to the architect. I'm like, okay, like stamp this, let's go, boom, boom. And you can move it a lot faster when you have all those pieces that I think I took for granted so much. And but I also think it helps me like build my passion as well, because I know you're talking about like you're going from raw ground and building up. Like one of my passions is taking those old buildings and renovating them, and they give me a good historic building. Like, oof, I'm in love for a while. And I actually just made a social post about one of the things I do to like learn my floor plans is my kids and we do laser tag in it. So like,
oh, that's cool.
Except for there was one time I had a play date and we were going to do it. And they're like, we're okay. I'm like, okay, there's like a little asbestos over here. Let's not go in this room. And, like we're raw. Yeah. I remember the dad coming up the stairs to pick up their kid at the end of the play date. And I'm like, this was probably, we should have stopped, like teenager. And you're like, we should have stopped before mom came to pick him up. Right. He walks up the stairs and turns around. I'm like, no, it's okay. He's like, no, I'm getting my gun. I'll be right back. And goes home, comes back. We play for a couple more hours, but it's that fun stuff. Yeah. I think you take in the process, which is what I so enjoy of watching and following along with your post of your current project, Elevate. So I want you to give a little backstory about how that happened. And I'm going laser tag over to Elevate. Like I know I can connect anything. So
I mean, it's play, it's gather, it's all of that. Yeah.
All the fun. Yeah. Well, and that's to me, and I'm going to pause for you say that, but like to me, what you mentioned is like, I can do that. Like, where's the purpose and the fulfillment and the passion in the work? And that's why I left corporate America. That's why I wanted to do what I wanted to do with my company. And that's what really is like for my BHAG and everything that I'm focused about. Because like you said, like I can go work for anybody. I mean, I may be unhireable now, but like right. But like your skills
will not be your best employee. The work will get done and it'll get done great. I won't be happy. It won't be good.
No, but bringing the play and like allowing people to like, because even my architects are always like, Katie, I love working on your projects. I'm like, why? They're just like, I mean, we're transitional building, like because you let us think. Yes. And you let us challenge things and like throw out crazy ideas. You then take them crazier. I'm like, yes, that's what like I love doing. So now I've kind of teed this up. So how did Elevate even come into your mind? Like in that?
Well, it was about 20 years ago when I first moved to Florida. And it wasn't what it is today, but we were playing at this crappy bar that had a couple courts of beach volleyball. And it was how I started to meet friends in a new community to where I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go play a sport because I at least know that and I'll make friends. I'm new to a town. And I just thought we'd played there so often. I'm like, wouldn't it be cool? Okay, let's start some cornhole up. Or what if they have food trucks come up so that way we have better food than this crappy bar food? And I always like a lazy river. So wouldn't it be cool if there's like a lazy river going around? And so like just kind of dreaming about that. But really then fast forward and it comes to every community I've lived in. So I've lived in a couple of different places in Florida, Southern California, a couple of different places, Tahoe, Ohio, and everywhere I go, I'm able to use sports to meet friends and meet people. And it does help that I'm better at like good at sports to where they're like, oh yes, we would like you to stay and play. But for people who don't play sports or can't anymore, and how do you make friends as an adult? And everywhere I went, I just kept hearing people say the same thing. They're like, oh, I just moved here from Chicago with my husband, but how do we meet people? And oh, I just graduated college and my boyfriend and I moved back home here to Southwest Florida. And it's like, where are we going to make friends? How do we meet people? And I'm like, that is a broken part of what we've built. We've made it to where it's a system where we grow up, we get a job, so we sleep, we go to work. And then it's like we're too exhausted and maybe we're doom scrolling or watching Netflix and checking out. And it's like, wait, time out. When are we actually living? And where are those missing third spaces in our community where we can have fun and we can come together and where you meet people and it doesn't matter what your title is or how much money you have, like you have an equal voice in where you're at to where it's like your opinion matters. Where's that coffee shop that everyone just randomly shows up to without a time and you're talking, or, where's that dog park where you actually talk and engage? I mean, I've mentioned my dog a few times. I literally got a dog because I was like, oh, I'm going to meet more people because of this. I didn't meet more people because of my dog, because it's cool. You'll meet them in passing, but you're not actually in a space that's cultivating relationships and friendships. So all of that to say, a friend and a prior employee of mine sends me last August, sends me a thing of a place in Chicago. He's like, you could live here. And it was outdoor volleyball courts, had outdoor concert venue, indoor simulations, bowling, sports bar, food, cornhole. Like it's the mecca of a great sports facility. And I'm like, wow, that is really cool. And I sent it to my volleyball friends down here and we started tossing it around, and it was over like the course of a week. And then I remember it was a Friday night because we were all meeting up for game night. And I just was like, wait, we need a place where we can all gather and this can all happen. And they had sent me a piece of property that was roughly like 5 acres. And I started laying it out and writing the plan. I'm like, guys, we're freaking doing this. Only we're going to make it to where it's got sports, it's got entertainment, it's got food, it's got lazy river. And then one of our friends, who is texting me right now because she's designing a component of it, starts speaking up, and she's an athletic trainer. And she started explaining what the wellness side could be. Because I'm like, yeah, we could have studios for like yoga and Pilates. And she's like, no. This is what wellness is going to be. She's like, one, we have a missing middle of healthcare to where you have a nagging injury. It's not enough to go to the doctor to get a referral to go and do all of that. So you let it go. And now you no longer play volleyball because your arm hurts when you go. So now you're doing other sports, but you're not hanging out with your friends. Or you tweaked your ankle at pickleball and you're just like, great, I'm not going to do anything. Well, athletic trainers can bridge that gap to where you can come in for that consultation and they can actually help you and go, oh, do these exercises and you're fine. Or, oh no, you did actually do something, go to a doctor. So designing in athletic training consultations and exams, but also then things like cupping, scraping, taping, and the whole wellness part, while having the studios, while having the gym, so like a movie theater, cardio gym, but then also all of the workout equipment that we want, and the cryo rooms, the sauna, the meditation room. We'll have an indoor outdoor of that, the self-recovery using the massage guns and stuff. So like putting that all in to where it flows and it makes sense. So it's like, okay, cool. We've got wellness. We've got the food component. We've got the indoor outdoor sports. We've got the social lawn event lawn. So we can do pop-up events. And the whole point of that is like, let's feature other businesses in the community to be like, hey guys, this is going to be XYZ topic. And then all the businesses can come in and then you go, Sweet, I really like that. Great. Well, they're literally right here. So now go spend money and keep the money within the community. And like soccer and football fields, lazy river, of course. And I also would like to have an immersive building, because just like the Sphere in Vegas or all throughout Asia, we have immersive buildings and technology to where it can be for fun. And you could be like, cool, we have this great winter wonderland in Florida. Or it could be used for education, and say you're like learning about some kind of food or nutrition or this or that. And you actually transport to Asia, to Europe, to wherever. And now you're like, whoa, this is a super cool experience, and I learned something because it was so cool. So all of that to say, all of that within the facility, because it's like, it touches everyone. It's every age range. It's grandma and grandpas in silver sneakers during the day or doing pickleball. It's mom taking her kid, dropping them off at childcare and doing a Pilates class, and then walking the trails with some other friends and dogs and grabbing coffee or lunch. And it's meeting everyone at the same spot. So it's sticky, and you're actually going to build community, because instead of running off to go somewhere else, you're staying in the same spot in the same community where everyone is accessing. And it's just creating that missing third space where you can truly build deep friendships and relationships and connection.
I love it. I love it. And you're not passionate about it at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
We'll work on that. But no, I love it. And so my brain's like going through like, okay, I hope she's going after this grant and all those things. So when you're starting to build this, when you were at the card game, pretty much is what you were saying at the cards, and a lot of opportunity zones happen over a card game. But when you're looking at it and you're talking about it and you know that process, who are you seeking as partners in this? Because this has been a 20-year idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So for me, I've always been the person who's the developer, who's the overall ringleader, who gets it done. But like I said, once it's done, I'm not the operator. So for me, it was, I need the right operations people. And so once Chelsea had piped in and went, whoa, this is what the wellness could be, and her network of wellness professionals and that whole, and I did not do that idea justice. Like, the wellness building is going to be on point. But
put a pin in it. I want Kelsey to meet my friend Mackenzie, because she's doing some amazing health stuff with cancer kids. So like, we need to connect those two brains.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So hearing that, knowing that, wow, because that's probably a good 35 to 40% of that, of what it truly will pull together. But then also, we have so many friends that are in sports. So we actually played a Courts Collide tournament. So, and I am constantly, as a person, I am on the lookout for other badass people. So when I find them, I go, I don't have a job or a spot or a partnership for you yet, but you're really awesome, and the universe is going to create one eventually. So I kind of have this collection of people that I meet along the way. And we had played a Courts Collide tournament, which was beach volleyball and pickleball all mixed in. And I just saw how the organizer was running. I'm like, oh, that's an operator. And she's a hustler. She's only 27 years old. She has already built multiple volleyball communities, got screwed out of her first partnership, realized, oh, it's not like there aren't all good people out there.
I can't trust exactly what they said was going to happen.
I personally appreciate the fact that she already had a massive failure in that sense, because now she knows what she didn't know before. And now she knows she should be able to guide it. So I'm like, okay, wellness is covered, sports is covered. And then we've got Julia, our youngest founder, who she's 24 years old. She is a miniature me. She is just a younger version of me. I see all of it. And she's into real estate. She's a realtor, an investor. They're flipping. She's running short-term rentals. Like, she's doing it all, and understands that she took her LSAT, could have gone and been a lawyer. And then she was interning for a while and was like, oh no. She's like, there's people there that literally hate their life. I can't do this. Life is too short. I can't do this. I'm like, yes, girl. Yes.
Come to the dark side. Come to like,
and she literally, it's funny that her fiance now will joke. He's like, I just send Julia off, and she literally just knows everyone everywhere. So when it comes to partnerships and operators and capital raising, like, okay, we literally want to do this all within the community. Hey, Julia, who do we know in this and that? Oh, boom, 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 boom. Perfect. So
nice. The hunter, you have to hunt.
Yes. Yes. So for me, it was finding the right operators, and then just knowing. So this is a huge project. It's probably, depending on where it goes and what's already existing, it's going to be 100 to 140 million, and it's probably a 5 to 6 year project. And on purpose, we're making the capital stack complex to where a part of it will be the standard accredited investors. So we'll raise money from people who have lots of money. Great. Then we'll have local real estate developers has a crowdfunding platform. If we need to raise more than 4 million of equity, it makes sense to turn that platform on. What that does is it allows the people in the community to put in $500 or $1,000. Now you get to be part owner in what we're building in the community. So it's not just built by locals for locals, it's with locals, and you get to be an owner too. So you get to use it, you get to benefit from it, you get to have ownership of it. And then the third component is to have a nonprofit part. Some places we're looking, if it's city-owned land, it could be a public-private partnership and they bring the dirt and there's other stuff. Or it could be that, hey, we're going on private land, but we still want that nonprofit component because I don't want money to be a reason you can't be a member and belong. If you live in the community, that gives you membership. So to certain elements of this, you can use it regardless. It's by doing that, we are purposely making this complex. And all of those layers that are there, what excites me is tell me to go build a 300 unit apartment complex. Great. I can do it in my sleep, take it start to finish. I don't want to work on that for 3 to 5 years. I don't. So I've said no a lot recently. This one, 5 to 6 years, and knowing how many different people we will get to collaborate with who are awesome experts in their areas. Like, that's so exciting to me. Like, I can't take this project start to finish and tell you exactly how to be done. I can tell you, I know the steps to take to figure it out to get it done, but I can't take it start to finish. So to me, that's exciting. I love how crazy complex it is. I'm like, that is enough. On top of knowing how it's going to benefit the community, I love me a good challenge. So
I love those projects because I think of a couple that I've done where it's like, yes, and here's like 6, 7, 8 phases over here. We're not going to get to that yet, but like we're getting to it, right? Like it's coming and you're just trickling in. We're I spoke with you about this ranch project we're doing for a client or with a client. And I mean, I think we probably have 20 phases right now and everything, but it's one of those that you only step into the first 5 so you don't scare everybody else. But you're like, just hold on. So many questions. If you don't mind, can I ask you about the capital stack a little bit more?
Yeah.
All right. So would you ever, like you said, this is one, but like, would you ever start to franchise this idea or move it to a different location or do a second one?
Yeah. So throughout the course of the past 185 days, is that what day we're on right now? Because we are posting every.
I didn't check today. Sorry, but I do follow.
Had a friend. Yeah, I had a friend in Tahoe challenge me, and she said, "Well, you have to post every day now." And I remember, or she's like, "You need to start building in public," because we've had lots of these conversations about building in public. And so I posted day 1, and then she calls me that night. She's like, "All right, good job, you got it out there." She's like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Well, can't day 2 be a week from now?" She's like, "No, day 2 is tomorrow. What are you posting?"
I love that friend. What's her name? We need
April. I will be snowboarding with her in Tahoe soon. She's actually one of my partners in different real estate investments, and we just sold a couple fourplexes to then do a boutique hotel. So yeah, no, she's
like, and I'm doing this boutique thing over on the side. So yeah,
girl, I have like all the all the
things. Yes, but I love it because it's like this. We'll get to the capital stack. But I was going back and somebody was talking to me about like, how do you look at like investing? I'm like, myself or with somebody else? And she goes, well, for you. And I said, I divide it up into three areas. Like I want to have kind of that like right now, which I call like my W-2 substitution money. Like this is kind of keeping the lights on, then my second one is like, what's the long-term play from either like big hunks of cash if we convert it, or like this is retirement come. And then the stuff that like I say it's at risk because I don't have my DNA in it. Like I even put my 401k, my IRA, like anything I invest with other people. And they're like, that's interesting. I'm like, well, I think you got to look at like when you need the money, what you're working for, and like what is the ultimate goal. And so I'm like, I kind of curate that with how we look at things because you don't want to overload one section where a lot of people like, oh, I'm just going to put everything over there. And it's great to max out your 401k. That's good advice. I tell my nieces and nephews to do it too. Like max out your 401k, but know what that tool can give you. Yeah. Right. Like know what that tool can then leverage and go into, because when I went into my first development deal, like I had volunteered for the family company for 2 years in say 08, 09, and the savings had gone down. So when somebody said like you can't do a development with no money, I'm like, I got to, because like the bank is kind of empty. And going into that makes you realize that there are all these incentives for businesses that we make them so complex as society. Like they're for the small business, but they're so complex that the small business can't figure them out. So then the small business doesn't get them. And when I say small, I'm not talking the SBA definition of small, which is like, 250 mil. I'm exaggerating because of the right side, but I'm talking about like the mom and pop that like, them when you walk in, they've done your birthday cake for so many years, those people that are the heartbeat of your community, sponsoring your sports teams that need that money. And that's when I'm like, got pissed off enough. I'm like, I'm going to become a student of the game. Like, I'm going to figure out how I do no money down for all my clients and for all of our deals. And it was like, that was like opening Pandora's box in my mind, because then it was, how can we use these programs that are for the good of the community and the good of the small business to really have a rising tide lifts all boats. And like the first development we did with the bakery, we put in 3 different financial like tools, economic system tools that they could use: a TIF, a business development district, a special service area. We used historic tax credits, and we had actually like 9 sources in that first project. And if you would say to a baker, like, we're going to put 9 sources in your project, they're like, I have no clue what you're talking about, right? Like, I'm going to the bank. I'm like, well, that's what I do, right? And so, but when we went in, the bankers were able to do a $5.5 million deal with only $50,000. And they had 82% control. And our investors got 453% return in 4 years. And the community now had a vehicle to have over $200,000 a year for special events and infrastructure. And we had a ripple effect of $35 million from other developers. Some we did, but other developers, because they had those incentives in place. So
mic drop. That is what we need.
So when you talk about capital stack, like, how can we even next level it? So when I love that, like, I have a question. Are you doing any kind of business development zone, district zone, or anything like that with sales tax? Is Florida a sales tax? Do they get
no, we have no income tax. We do have sales tax. We're in an area that people come to naturally. And like, we just met with the city of Fort Myers, and they just got an economic development office 3 years ago because they didn't need it before, because everyone was coming down and money was coming in. So a combination of things happening, and also the hurricane wiping out our community. And they're like, oh, well, we need this now. So they're just now building it up. So we actually have less than other areas that I'm used to. But we do have a lot of foundations and nonprofits and different things. So like, for example, I just came across this 3D modeling company. They kept stalking me on Instagram, and I'm finally like, fine, I'll look at his tutorial. And I was like, wait, with Elevate, like everything I described, like you can hear my passion, but you're not in my head. You can't see it, and it doesn't exist yet. So how do I show you? And the 2D plans don't quite work. We can do the 3D
some AI
photo sims and stuff like that. But literally we can create a 3D fly through to where we are touring it as if it's done, and they can geoscan the area and they can drop it in. That's going to help the property owners. That's going to help the lenders. That's going to help the investors. That's going to help the operators. That's going to help the community come along, where it's like, okay. And, say they haven't even sent me numbers yet, but let's say it's $5 to $10,000 for a certain model. And then it's, for the whole thing, when we truly like have it fully built out and we have the full plan, so they can do it to where you can see steam coming out of a coffee cup that you're grabbing out of the grab and go shop. Say that's 30 or 40 grand. Well, I'm like, well, I don't want to pay for it. So what do I do? And I go, oh, well, 1, I leverage AI to kind of see who our different nonprofits and foundations are. And then 2, then I go, oh, okay. So I start calling, and it's like, oh, well, they have these grants of $500,000 to $100,000 that for women. And if you get a nonprofit who's part of their group to recommend you, and it's a local project and it'll benefit the community, that can be paid for. Why I like that? Yes, I could just go ahead and pay for it. But we're bringing the community along with this. The more people we can get invested into this project who goes, this is it. We literally want the whole community to come here. So the more people that we can get and make aware of this and bring along, the better. So like this whole year, my goal is to meet as many people as possible. And I feel like I have 20 different meetings a week, whether they're virtual or in person. And now I have several speaking gigs, and I'm like, sure, but I never really spoke before, but I'm like, I can talk about development and Elevate all day long. So cool. Let's do that. And it's just so fun because there's so many awesome people out there in the world. And I'm like, wait, and they're in my communities, which means I get to hang out with them. So So it's things like that. And then you had said, like, is there a second location? Is this a franchise? Yes, because I started in St. Pete and have such deep roots there. And that's the other part of where Elevate came 20 years ago is when I met those volleyball friends in that group, we probably had a core group of 50 people. That's ridiculous. And there were probably 5 different pods of 10-ish people that hung out a lot, but birthdays were all together. Big events were all together. And when I left for California, the one thing I remember just saying to my friend Elena, I'm like, man, I'm never going to have a friend group like this again. And I was wrong in that sense, because if you're intentional about it, you can. And we actually did. After the hurricane, I became intentional. I started inviting the volleyball people. I'm like, we're doing a pool party once a month. And then it turned into, let's also do a game night once a month. Now we have a monthly poker game that goes on. And now we know, oh, well, this and this happened in your life. Like, we care about that. And so we're asking for updates. So you can create it, but you have to be intentional. And this is a way to be intentional, to help people like get even closer to that, to where they don't have to try as hard. It'll happen a little bit more organically without people always needing to be the catalyst. So by finding our sports operator, Jenna, who runs her leagues up in St. Pete, it was like, we're 2.5 hours apart. This makes sense. If we're going to create this model, we create Southwest Florida, which is our flagship. This is boom. This is it. St. Pete is our legacy. And that proves this is a scalable model that works. It works in St. Pete is a younger demographic. Southwest Florida is older, but it all works for this concept. We'll tweak some elements to be more specific to a community. But by doing that, now we've made it to where everyone goes, oh, it wasn't just a one-off. It does work at scale. And now we can go, do we franchise it? What do we do with it? And for me, again, always scaling. So I want to create the blueprint that says, here's the framework. Here's the core of what this is. And maybe you don't have 20 acres to deal with. Maybe you only have 5. Maybe you have 7. But if we have that framework, then we can either help with municipalities to say, here's how you can take your existing park system and get your local public or your private people to come together and work with you on a development and take that through the other communities. And I'm sure, like, I have roots in Ohio, Southern California, we've got several team members, maybe Arizona. So I'm sure we'll probably have a handful of other corporate locations. But what we also don't want to do is grow this thing so much to where we don't get to enjoy the one place that we created in the first place, because we love it and we want to be there too. So I think we'll probably limit it to, and my guess would be 10 or less that we actually own and operate, but then there could be franchising and or other stuff as a result.
Licensing and stuff like that. I love that, because you have to curate, especially, in going through so many things what you just said. Like, I think of when I moved to Chicago, because I was from small town Peoria, went to school in Iowa, right? And I was like, I'm not going home. I'm going straight to the big city, right?
Yep.
And they have a Chicago Sport and Social Club, which is fantastic. I've never seen not to Elevate, I'm sure that will take the cake, but like that, I've never seen an organization run so great. So I was playing beach volleyball and then like going to soccer, and same thing. When you're a girl that's competitive and good, you get asked to stay for the next game and the next game.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was just telling my kids this, because I was like, date athletes, guys, like date athletes, they understand. And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, I would go Saturday or Sunday, to the south end of Chicago. Like, I'm on Cicero Avenue, I mean, there's 18-year-old hockey camp or 18-month hockey camps. That's the kind of place I was playing. And you'd stay for 6 hours. And I'm like, my husband didn't realize, like, where is she? And he didn't care because he knew where I was. Right. And so when you talk about like, going to those places where you have that community and, like it's home base for you and it's a great way to connect. And I think of any time we moved to a city, even in Austin, hockey, like that was a big thing for him. He plugged in and it was instant. And so that's why I love what you're doing and how you then can compound. And the one thing I love about it too is that the grant money in terms of the economic development, and as some of the things that we're doing here in the Texas Triangle with like tech parks and med centers. And like we have one project we're doing in Killeen. So I'd love to get your mind on it a little bit, because I was thinking of a play when you were talking. Of course, we're always thinking, right? But it's like by Texas A&M, it's by like the Fort Hood and the airport and this. And I'm just like, but you don't have, like you mentioned perfectly, that coffee shop of community, right? Like then go do something and be active. So when you go into these communities, for me, how I look at it from an economic development standpoint, why do I stay in that community? Like, why would I locate my business in that community? Well, if you have Elevate to be like, hey, we are giving you community immediately, like so many incentives, so much ripple effect for the community, for that economic development, like that gives you that stickiness that like you don't want to leave. You don't want your business to leave. Your employees are happy. You start to elevate, pun intended, everything about the community and the ecosystem. So love that.
And that's where, like, depending on the food components, we're creating economic growth and opportunity. We're creating, some of this will be bringing small businesses in the community in and letting them operate under, and then, you know, helping them run their businesses to make sure they're efficient. And so that part will be there. But through that, then cities will go. The whole thing for me with local real estate developers, like when I think about that and I get a local taking that building downtown, doing an adaptive reuse. Now you have a local who's spending dollars with local contractors, rebuilding something that now has small businesses operating. So now you've created employment and, I don't know, 20 to 50 jobs. And now you have locals coming in to spend money there. Now you've created this ecosystem where all the tax dollars are staying there. So now the city and community can rebuild the roads and utilities and the parks. And now you've created a self-sustaining ecosystem that we don't need outside dollars. We can self-sustain from within. And that's the same way with Elevate. Blue Zones has a study where I think 80% of your life you spend within a 20-mile radius of your home. And that truly dictates the quality of your life. So it's like, well, wait, what, if we do this, we're keeping the dollars in the community. We're keeping the people happy. We're keeping, like, it just creates its own self-sustaining ecosystem. And it's like, if say your husband's playing hockey and you're playing volleyball or pickleball, and grandma, mom and dad come in and they go walk the trails or they go get some athletic trainer treatment. And then you say, let's meet at the food hall for dinner. You're all in the same general area, to where it's not like you're out doing your own, and you can keep reconnecting and then going, cool, let's do the next thing. So keeps families closer in together as well, to where it's like, this is the Disneyland of adults. Like, where do we go to have fun? And quite frankly, we don't have fun anymore. Like, you get to be adults and it's like, why do we stop laughing? Why do we stop having fun? Why do we stop playing? I'm like, no, that's BS. This corporate, like, chokehold, no. I want
not handcuffed anymore. It's
a lot of times, like, I will do the most, like, silly things. Like, we play volleyball at a friend's house, Julia's parents' house, because our park got shut down while they were doing new construction, and they cut their palm trees down, and it looks like, I don't know, I forget, like, not Smurfs, but it looked like I don't know, there's some troll. They look like trolls. So I buy these giant eyeballs and headbands because I'm like, this is going to be so funny. We're going to play on Saturday. We're going to put the eyeballs on the trees and the headbands. And my sole purpose of this was to see if, one, I can make Julia crack up, but then everyone else. And it was the funniest freaking thing. And those eyeballs a year and a half later are still on the trees. But it's like, we got to go back to having fun. Like, we take life way too seriously. And it's like, I've gone through my share of loss of close family members and hurricanes and communities destroyed and companies tanking and all this stuff. And I'm like, literally the only thing that we can control in life is our response to what happens. And at the same time, like, why would I ever trap myself in a life that I'm not happy in? I just think of all of that. And that's why I go, yeah, this is a crazy, crazy, huge idea and project. And yeah, I'm going to freaking go try and do it, because even if it doesn't work out, and I guarantee what it looks like in the end will not be what we imagined at the beginning.
Yeah.
But how much have we grown as people? How many doors and opportunities have opened? What kind of ripple effect have we started just by trying?
Yeah. And I love that you're open for all of it. You're open for the stumbles. Like the property we thought, I was just like, oh, let me know where that property is. We're going to get that in there, but it's not the right one. It's not the right fit. And you keep going through that evolution. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're doing and sharing is amazing. And it's actually pushed me to be like, next time we start something, like we have a demo day on Monday, which I always love demo day, and we share our projects, but we don't do every day. I was like, ooh, right. Like that's next level to have that accountability. So I appreciate your friend having that. When you're a snowboard, tell her that. But so when you talk about that exceeding behind and going and living, because that's what you just said. I love the chokehold versus the handcuffs. Like, it's even gone further, because I feel like our parents were that generation of, I want you the first to go to college if that's in your family. I was in my family, or I want this to be a better life. Mm-hmm. But what they knew, the better life was the job. Right. Work for a small or work for a stable company and keep going. But what we saw our parents do is celebrate life with what they had and build. And like, that to me is infectious. Is like, I left all that corporate job for fulfillment and to be able to help and give back. And thank
you to them for giving us a stable enough of a baseline to where we were able to go a step ahead and see what that ending is and go, now I get to choose a different ending and a different outcome that never could have existed for them. No. But they evolved it to this point. So it's like, thank you. And I'm gonna be different over here. I'm gonna be the black sheep, showing you that doing everything opposite of what the world tells you to do works, and it works very well. I'm very happy.
Pretty good. So when you said pivot, it made me think like when we didn't buy my family's construction company, my dad took it the hardest, but like nobody saw. I gave him a year notice. I always tell people I'm like, I gave him a year notice. But my one of our family friends, Dr. Collier, who was my superintendent in high school, so would always give me shit on sports. But he came and he goes, but she's doing exactly what you guys do, but she's doing it to her skill set, to her level, to how she does it. And it was great that frame, just how like you just reframed. It's like, yes, and we appreciate there is a base, right? And we all know we make different decisions when your bank account's full versus when it's not full, right? And so to be able to expand with that comfort and safety net, like I can make this happen no matter what.
And I think it's good to know, like I briefly mentioned, but I had one of my bigger companies tank a couple of years ago to where it like went from several million to zero. And I was like, wow, that was a big hit. And at first I had taken it personally because you put up in your early entrepreneurial days, like you put your self-worth into this stuff. And if the business goes, then this must mean I'm bad. I'm a bad person. I failed. I did this or that. So that, along with the hurricane, along with another personal family thing that had all happened, it was 3 years of just like, okay, can I take another hit? But I'm so damn stubborn. This would never be here if the universe hadn't said, yo, you are not listening to me. So I'm going to force you to listen. And okay. And as a result, it's like, oh, okay, well, now I've grown into the person who is now ready to take on something like this. So like we had just mentioned right before the call, I had to put my dog down last Tuesday, which she was the one. I got her. And I said 8 years ago, I got her to teach me to love again. And then I went, nope, she's going to teach me to truly love without condition for the first time. And actually, she taught me how to genuinely love and accept myself. I'm like, dang, woman, you did work.
What
because
was her name?
Haya.
Haya, okay.
Yeah, she was amazing. And so I don't know if you can see, yeah.
That's like the best photo.
About 60 pounds, put a shark fin on her. She got the dolphins to play all the time. It was great, but it was just one of those things that when you go then into your next journeys and businesses as an entrepreneur, because I was a destination person at first. I was like, I'm gonna get my islands and dolphins, and like that was my BHAG. And I ended up actually getting my islands and dolphins. And I remember, wait, no fireworks go off, nothing amazing. Like it's actually kind of depressing to achieve your goals. And I went, oh. And I'm like, oh, it's because it's the journey that matters. And earlier this week, I was talking to Chelsea and Julia because we were stressing ourselves out a little bit about a deadline coming up because we want this to happen so bad. And I said, time out. I said, guys, enjoy right now. The unknown, the uncertainty, the fact that it's like all of this is the fun part. Yeah. This is the fun part right now. So it just a new appreciation, a new lease on everything that's happening where I'm like, I don't know the outcome. And that's why the smile is on my face. I'm like, okay, but I'm here. I'm present. I'm enjoying it.
Oh, that's so great. There's actually, it's an episode that's actually coming out tomorrow as we record this, but it's about the fort that women go into when they get tackled by things. Like when you talk about that multi-million dollars. And I just had dinner with a friend and I'm like, we haven't talked like in a year, like what's going on? And she's like, I couldn't talk to you. And I'm like, what do you mean you couldn't talk to me? And she goes, I couldn't let you know what's going on. And then I'm like, mama bear, right? Like, what do you mean? And to hear that she was suffering, but I'm like, I do the same thing. Like when I'm like, oh God, I'll go figure this out. And what you just said of like not beating yourself up, right? Because you didn't tank that business, right? You didn't that. And there's so many things that go into like the heartbeat of a project and a business, but yet we tend to just take it all on when it's bad and we like push the joy onto somebody else. So I appreciate you stating that and saying how you are absorbing the journey. And I love that, like, sit here in this moment because the stress of like, oh my gosh, we're going to meet this deadline is going to be like, we rocked that deadline out or that wasn't a deadline we were meant to meet. Right. Like, so I love that. And being able to ride along with the journey. So, all right. I want back for an update on Elevate, but anybody who wants to follow along for the daily updates, where can they find you at, Kristi?
So we post daily on LinkedIn, Instagram, and I believe Facebook. I'm the worst at Facebook, but I think we now have been pushing through. Basically, it's my name. So Kristi, Kristi, Kandel, Kandel. You can put that in. You will find the different stuff that I'm in, or Elevate Southwest Florida or Elevate St. Pete. So it's, literally putting updates out there every single day. My favorite, initially we were just putting updates out, and then we came up, I think late December, we came up with a plan. We're like, okay, let's do this. And literally my favorite part of our posts now, we have Saturday shenanigans where we're just goofing off and being people. And they're the longest ones to edit and do, mostly because I'm laughing the whole time while doing it. But it's just, to me, it's just so fun. I'm like, yeah, this is what life is. Like, we're doing this really awesome thing, and we also have a lot of fun together. And it's also fun to see our friendships evolve and grow as we go too. And I'm like, if that's the only thing that comes out of it is even stronger friendships, that it alone is a win. But I highly doubt that's going to be the only thing.
I don't think that's the only thing, because there's too much brain power in there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And if you are a listener that is resonating with Kristi's story, or saying, I want to be part of that community and I want to invest in something that is impactful, definitely check out her website. We'll put it in the show notes, and share this episode with a friend that helps bring you along that journey. Like Kristi said, we've gotten away from building community. And that's, side note, why I said I always wanted to have a bar and a coffee shop in my office building so I could have that community. And I think that the only way we get our economy, community, and our lives back on track is by leaning into each other and really supporting each other. So appreciate your time, and thank you again. And remember, if you are looking to level up, join this conversation. Listen to it a couple times, and let's go. If this conversation gave you clarity, share it with a woman who is building something, but questioning what it's costing her. And if you're in your own season of refinement, not expansion for the sake of ego, but growth and alignment and fulfillment, subscribe. Share this episode with a friend that you can build along with. Because here we don't grow louder, we grow smarter. We grow together, and we grow to make positive impacts. Let's go. Before we wrap up, if someone in your world needs this conversation, a founder who's carrying a lot and ready for clarity, send this episode to her. These messages land deeper when we share them. And if you're in that space where you know your business can grow, you feel the potential, but the next strategic step isn't fully clear yet, let's talk. You don't need a new identity. You don't need to force a direction. You just need clarity that's aligned with your goals, your numbers, and the life you want to lead. I invite you to book a call with my team. We'll look at where you are, identify the real leverage points, and map the smartest next move, whether that's one of our free resources, a workshop, or deeper support. Clarity creates momentum. Let's get yours. Let's go. The information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. It's not financial advice. It's not investment advice. Real estate development, like any investment, carries risk. Before you make decisions, you should always consult a licensed professional, your attorney, your CPA, or your financial advisor, to name a few, to make sure you're making the right choice for your situation. I'm here to share insights and strategy, but you're responsible for your own decisions, and each situation is unique. So make sure you contact your professional team to give you your specific guidance for your specific case, as each real estate development's different and unique and has its own challenges and opportunities.